So today is a very special day, and if you've seen my hat, then you probably know why. That's right, today is the 30th birthday of Sonic the Hedgehog. This is where we all reflect on the time that's passed and realize how old we all feel, and get that obligatory joke out of the way. Let's talk about some games. So I love Sonic the Hedgehog. If you've had the misfortune of having a conversation with me in real life, then that's probably abundantly clear. I love this character. In fact, I don't think there's a single character or even media franchise that means as much to me as this little blue boy over here does. And there's definitely stories or like comics, movies and stuff that have sort of impacted me deeper or kind of told better stories with better characters, like stuff like Avatar: Last Airbender, The Dragon Prince. But there's just nothing else like Sonic the Hedgehog for me. There's no other series that strikes as hard of a chord with me as this character does. And is that because I grew up with him and have a lot of nostalgia to the character and the brand? Probably, but let's talk about some games Ow! Let's talk about some games. Set you up there. So to celebrate the 30th anniversary, I thought it'd be fun to take a look at my top 5 favorite games from the series. These aren't the top 5 best Sonic games of all time, according to like Metacritic or like a survey or anything. These are just my 5 favorite games, and these are my 5 favorite games of right now. My thoughts on the series are always changing depending on what games I love or what games I don't. Sometimes I'll revisit a game and I'll kind of find that it's not as fun as I remember it being. Other times I'll revisit a game and it'll be a lot better than I remember it being. So this list is kind of something that's always changing, and I might revisit the topic later down the line. But to celebrate Sonic's 30th anniversary, here are my top 5 favorite Sonic games. Starting off with what is objectively the best title on this list, Sonic Mania, released in 2017 for Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PS4, PC, and I think it's like on like the Amazon Luna or whatever that is. I honestly have no idea. Sonic Mania is pure happiness on a Switch cartridge, or disc, depending on what system you're playing on it. I don't have my cartridge in here because it is in my system right now. This game is just pure bliss. This game basically takes everything that worked about the original Sonic titles and takes out the stuff that didn't. I like these games a lot, Sonic 3 and Knuckles especially, but they have a lot of problems. Sonic 2 especially in its latter half has a lot of frustrating design choices that made the game, while a good game for the time, not as fun to revisit. Sonic Mania, on the other hand, takes what worked about these older games and not only amplifies it, but adds sort of its own new ideas to make the games really feel fresh and engaging, to create a Sonic experience that feels like a full realization of these older titles and this original style of Sonic the Hedgehog. If I had any gripes about this game, it's that it doesn't have a ton of its own style. It's all its own flair, like the menus and the character animations. Some great animated stuff in this game, by the way. Not only in terms of pixel animations, but also there's this really nice intro and like ending sequence. But yeah, the visuals and the pixel animations are so good. It's just so well animated, and the characters are so expressive. This is easily the best Sonic game released in this decade, and this is this past decade, where we've had games like Generations, so there's been some competition, but this is my favorite Sonic game of the 2010s, one of my favorite Sonic games, and the Sonic game I've probably consistently played the most over the past year. I replay this game constantly, and it's always a blast every time. Can't recommend this bad boy enough. This is easily my favorite Sonic game in the original style, but if you notice, I didn't say it's my favorite 2D Sonic game, because that honor goes to Sonic Rush, released on the Nintendo DS in 2005. I love this game. This is a great game, an excellent 2D Sonic game, building on the concepts first introduced with games like Sonic Advance, which released on the Game Boy Advance a few years prior, and creating a truly modern 2D Sonic experience. As you probably know from games like, again, Generations, there's essentially 2 different Sonics in terms of like marketing. Our classic little blue boy here, which you see on stuff like the Genesis collections, and most recently in Sonic Mania, and the sort of more modern portrayal of Sonic, which kind of has like darker colors, a bit more angular design in certain aspects. You know, his mouth's a little pointier, a little bit more of an attitude. These are the same character, but there's just a few differences in design, and especially in gameplay. Sonic Rush is a game that I don't really see a lot of people ever talking about, and that's probably because it was stranded on the DS. But this is easily my favorite 2D Sonic game, and it is a super solid time. This is the best modern 2D Sonic game. Now, what I mean by a modern 2D Sonic game is that not just that it has the modern Sonic design as opposed to the more classic design, but it features the more modern Sonic gameplay that we would get in games like Generations or Unleashed, with like boosting and tricks and all that other stuff, but it's implemented really well into a 2D space. This game is really fun and it has really good music. It's all done by Hideki Naganuma, who did the Jet Set Radio soundtracks. Really good stuff. A New Day, What You Need, Wrapped in Black. All the songs in this game really stand out to me and are really good. It's a great soundtrack. but the levels are also really fun and distinct, and it does bring in the modern Sonic idea of multiple playable characters with the introduction of Blaze the Cat, who plays pretty similarly to Sonic, but is a cat from another dimension with fire powers. All of the modern Sonic you'd expect is here. Boosting, rails, tricks, it's all implemented really well. We first saw stuff like boosting in Sonic Advance 2, I believe, but it wasn't in the style it is here. It was more of a reward for getting high speed rather than being a mechanic that you would get by pulling off tricks or defeating enemies. Here it's used really well because while it is easy to get it, and if you're boosting and you know the level well, you can easily maintain it, it never feels like just an instant win button like it does in games like Forces. It rewards the player by giving them tasks or areas to earn more boost, and then giving them opportunities to use that boost. It works with being able to reward the player because that's when Sonic games are at their best. And you see that a lot in games like Sonic Mania and some of the other titles we'll talk about later in this list, is that Sonic games on the Genesis were all about speed and platforming. If you knew the level well and could platform quickly, you would get to better routes that are shorter and let you get to the level faster. You'd have to be rewarded with cool speed segments like loop-de-loops and stuff like that. It was a balancing act. And Mania does that really well, arguably better than any other game on this list, but I think Rush does it really well too, and the boosting and trick mechanics are really fun. This is a great game, and it's backwards compatible with 3DS, so if you can find a cartridge, I definitely recommend giving it a shot. Great game with great music, just a fun time. Now, the next Sonic game we're going to talk about is one that I'm sure most of you are familiar with. It features two distinct gameplay styles, one of which is really fun, the other which isn't bad, but it's like just kind of okay. Beautifully designed levels, excellent music. It was released on PS3 and Xbox. That's right, I am talking about Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, I'm surprised too. I never thought this game would even be in like my top 10 favorite Sonic games. Nevertheless, number 3 in my top 5. But I've been revisiting this game recently and this is amazing. I am surprised how much I'm enjoying this game. Does it have flaws? Yes, arguably the most prominent being the Werehog. Not really all that fun to play with. Like, as a beat 'em up, it's okay, but it doesn't really blend well with the fast modern Sonic stages. But again, it does keep that design philosophy in mind, working through platforming to get to the speed sections. Because of how well designed the daytime stages are in this game that you play as with normal Sonic, the platforming and speed kind of blends together with the fact that you're doing both at the same time. So you don't really get that balancing act, and they don't really feel as much like a reward if it was just the boosting stages. So while I am glad that the Werehog is here to kind of break up the gameplay, I do think it would be a better game if it was just modern Sonic. However, that's not to say that the Werehog is really bad, because it's not great, but it could have been a lot worse, honestly. Looking at other mechanics in games like Sonic and the Black Knight, where they kind of try to add something new to the Sonic series, it doesn't work nearly as well. The Werehog isn't a great addition, but it works well enough, and while it's kind of dumb, this game you play it for the daytime stages. The Werehog is kind of stuff that you kind of begrudgingly accept to get to that point, and when you get to a daytime stage, it's really rewarding, and these are the best 3D kind of modern boost levels that Sonic has ever had. This sort of style of Sonic game peaked at its debut, because we've seen it again in games like Generations and Colors, but I don't think it's ever been done as well in this game. Also, this game looks incredible. This is the closest thing we've ever gotten to a true next-gen Sonic experience, even though it was released 13 years ago. Sure, games like Forces are running on better hardware and Generations came out a few years later, but comparing the two, these two especially, Generations feels like it has a lot more in common with Colors visually. Also, Generations doesn't really have its whole visual identity. A lot of the game in terms of its like kind of style is just kind of a white void. And while that's not a problem, the reason that I put Unleashed in this spot over Generations is that Unleashed feels more like a fleshed out experience. Even though it's not like big fun Sonic worlds as much as it's going around the real world, it just feels like it has more of its own identity and is confident in said identity, unlike Generations, which kind of just has the past stuff and nothing else. I think this is a better game, objectively speaking, and I think you should probably try this one out, especially on PC, if you have a high-end PC that can run it really well. But yeah, revisiting Unleashed, this game is way better than I remember it being. This game isn't for everybody, and when I first played it, I didn't even really like it. I tried it out on Xbox One because it was released through backwards compatibility, and so I figured, okay, I'll buy a disc and give it a shot, and I really didn't enjoy it. But revisiting it again on PS3, yeah, I really like it. This is a good game. Now, in all fairness, I have not finished it yet. And I know that the ending parts, there's like a very long Eggman Land stage that's like not fun to play with. I'm sure that's gonna be a real chore to get through. Is it a mixed bag? Yes, but a lot of Sonic games are kind of a mixed bag. These two aren't, but a lot of Sonic games do have kind of parts of them that are more fun than others. Like the classic Sonic stages and Generations aren't bad, but I'd always rather play a modern Sonic stage just because they feel more fleshed out, And classic Sonic in this game, while fun, is kind of, sort of, I guess, eclipsed by Mania just because that's a more fun classic Sonic experience, I would say. This isn't bad, this game is just better. At least in my opinion. You see, Sonic games are kind of like a box of chocolates. There's gonna be stuff you like in there, but the rest of it you're kind of just gonna begrudgingly accept as part of the package. And while it's not true for some titles, it's true for others. But if the good stuff is really good, then I think it's worth playing. This game is pretty much equal to Generations for me in terms of how I feel about it. While I think Generations is an overall better experience, I think Unleashed just has a lot more to it, and I think while Unleashed has lower lows, it has higher highs, and is ultimately an experience I'm more likely to revisit, even though I think this is better overall. So yeah, really good game, check them out. And I wish this would come to PC. Sega, please put this on PC, it would run so much better on there. Like, playing Generations on PC is amazing, like, just please put this on there for us. Now, there are 2 games left, and if you know me, you probably know what 2 titles those are. You know what my favorite Sonic games are, the Sonic games I won't shut up about. So I figured it'd be good to kind of talk about them at the same time, because there's a lot about these games that kind of go into each other. So my top 2 favorite Sonic games, number 2 comes Sonic Adventure 2, and number 1 is Sonic Adventure DX. Now, what is the deal with these games? So, these games were big deals when they first came out. A lot of people really liked them. Now they kind of seem to be nothing more than an internet punching bag, but I do find a lot more fans of Sonic DX actually in the wild, like, be it either online talking to people or even just like at a Best Buy. I remember talking to a Best Buy employee about how great Sonic Adventure is. You don't get that experience with other games, so I feel like people are kind of coming around on this one, just like they did with Unleashed a few years ago. But let's talk about Adventure 2 first, because it is ranked lower on the list, even though it's at my number 2 spot. And that's because my feelings on this one have kind of changed over time. For a while, this was my favorite Sonic game, but every time I revisit it, I kind of find more and more problems with it, and so it's not one that I'm necessarily really looking forward to going back to, even though it means a great deal to me. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle was a sequel to Sonic Adventure, and introduced a lot of the modern Sonic concepts that we would kind of learn to love as time went on. It had more linear level design with sort of like almost like ramps and racetrack-like design where you're kind of railroaded into one direction, as opposed to Sonic Adventure 1 where they kind of felt more like worlds that were lived in, where the secrets were kind of better hidden. This game, it kind of feels more like you're going on one way, there's like a bug in the air that you can like smash and do like a trail and get to a shorter path. It's a lot more linear, but it leads its way to more streamlined design, which is pretty good. And the Sonic and Shadow stages in this game are really fun. It's just the Knuckles and Tails stages that kind of falter a bit, same with like the Rouge and Eggman because it's the same gameplay style. Treasure hunting in this game isn't nearly as fun as it is in the first one, just due to the fact that you are locked to finding one treasure at a specific time. You see, the Knuckles stages in these games have you tracking down the shards of the Master Emerald, and they're hidden throughout the stage, and there's always 3 in a stage, and they're always in a new location. So you have a little radar at the bottom of the screen that tells you where they are, and in Adventure 1, it tells you where every emerald is, so if you're close to an emerald, your radar will be. In this game, it only detects 1 emerald at a time. You have all 3 at the bottom screen, but there's only 1 ever going off at a time. So you can be right next to an emerald, and if it's not the one that's selected, you're not going to know it's there, which makes these levels a chore to play, especially the later stages, which are really big and expansive, with a ton of nooks and crannies where stuff just kind of ends up getting stuck or lost. They're not that fun to play, but what does make this game fun to play are the speed stages, which are really good, and just really fun stages. And what also makes this game great is the Chao Garden. Chao Garden was first introduced to Sonic Adventure, but I feel like it was purely fleshed out in this game. This is the best Chao Garden we've gotten, and one of the only Chao Gardens we've gotten, because outside of the Tang Chao Garden in the advanced games, we never saw Chao Garden after this, and we could say it's because, well, it peaked here, but also I just don't think that Sega wanted to make them, but I hope they revisit the Chao Garden, because it's a really fun mechanic. It's fun to have virtual pets that you can kind of build and level up by replaying stages. It not only adds a lot of replayability, it adds value to trying to get those S ranks and A ranks, like in this game, because S ranks got started in this game. But yeah, so if you're like grinding through levels trying to get perfect scores, it doesn't really matter because whenever you go through a level, you get stuff to give to your Chao to make them more powerful, so it kind of incentivizes replaying this game and re-exploring areas and levels to find new stuff. Also, the story in this game is really good. I do like the story a lot, even though it is cheesy as all heck. So the story in this game is kind of complicated. Basically, Eggman's grandfather made the ultimate life form, which happens to be this emo-looking Sonic. This is Shadow the Hedgehog, and he's honestly my favorite character in this game. And the reason is because he actually goes through a legitimate arc. You see, Shadow the Hedgehog starts the game out believing that he needs to destroy humanity to take revenge on them because the military invaded Eggman's grandfather's space colony Ark, which is where Shadow was created, and basically just killed everyone on board, including Maria, who is Shadow's best friend, and Joe Robotnik's granddaughter, Eggman's cousin. If you're confused, that's okay because it's kind of needlessly complicated. But basically, Shadow the Hedgehog is trying to enact his revenge because his memory's been altered by Joe Robotnik to want to destroy humanity when Maria really wanted him to save humanity. And he kind of realizes that over the course of the game, and he ends up sacrificing himself to save the entire world. And it's a legitimately sad moment. I will be honest, I cried at the end of this game, and I don't want to admit that, but it is true. This is a good game, it has a pretty good story, and a lot of the strengths with its story can be similarly said for Sonic Adventure DX. It's a story about Eggman also trying to control something he kind of can't control, that ends up kind of betraying him, and so Sonic has to become super with the power of the Chaos Emeralds to go stop it. They're very similar games, however I think Adventure has better design. While both games have multiple different playstyles, Adventure 1 has a lot less of them. While there are more styles, because there's 6 different playstyles as opposed to just the 3 in this game, Tails is basically Sonic, but with the flight mechanic and the levels being based on a race where you try to race Sonic or Eggman to the end of the goal. Knuckles stages are a lot more smaller and well designed, and you can detect the emeralds more easily, so this game is just ultimately more fun to play. And the emphasis on other playable characters is de-emphasized within it, because instead of just being one set story like good or evil where you have to play through a Knuckles stage if you want to get to the next cool Sonic stage, this game all has separate campaigns. And while not all the campaigns are very long, Amy's is only 3 missions long, Big is only 4 missions long, the other characters have like 5 missions, and Sonic has 10. So while there is other playable characters and other gameplay styles, they don't feel as disconnected as these do, or as nearly as invasive. They're there if you want to play them, but if you want to just go through and play Sonic's story, you don't get the full experience. You need to beat all of them to unlock the true ending of the game. But you can still get a fun time just by playing Sonic's missions. And this game has a lot of fun stuff to it. The levels feel a lot more like legitimate worlds as opposed to linear racetracks. Like when you're in Speed Highway and you get to that city section, you feel like you're in a city. In this game, the city still feels more linear because of the way the buildings are constructed in levels like City Escape. They both have kind of very racetrack-oriented highway levels, but this game just feels a little bit more fleshed out in terms of design and feeling like a legitimate world. And one of the cool things about this game is you have a hub world that you can explore to find secrets or emblems and to help break up the gameplay so that when you get to the speed stuff again, it's more of a reward. That's probably the weirdest take I think I have on the Sonic series, that the speed stuff is kind of a reward. And that sounds stupid because you're thinking, well, the reason you play these games is to go fast. But if everything is just going fast effortlessly, then it's not fun. And we see that in games like Forces. This game has just enough to break up the segments, so when you do get to a speed level, it's fun. But exploring the hub world is fun too, because you still have the same mechanics, so you can just run from one end of the map to the other in 3 seconds. It's a fun game, and I like it a lot. Is it perfect? No. Does it have flaws? Absolutely. Do I still enjoy it? Yes. And is it my favorite Sonic game? Yeah, it sure is. So those are my top 5 favorite Sonic games, and if you are wondering which I would recommend, I would recommend that you play these games the most, even though this one wasn't on the list. These 2 games are great games, especially if you're new to the series and looking to give it a try. I can't recommend these titles enough, basically because they are essentially best of compilations, and even though they don't really have a ton of their whole own identity, they're still good games, and I do recommend them a lot. If you're open to something that is a bit rougher around the edges, I'd say Unleashed. It ultimately is a very rewarding game to get those daytime stages, and while the nighttime stuff isn't that fun, this is a good game. It has the highest production value of any Sonic game. They've never made a game that looks better than this. This feels like the last truly ambitious Sonic title, which hopefully we'll see another game of similar ambition with rumored Sonic game where they showed the trailer of Sonic running, which is something he's never done before. These games are a lot harder to recommend though, because even though I really like them, they are not for everybody. These games have garnered a fair amount of criticism online, and yeah, they are just not for everybody. Like most 3D platformers from this era, they've aged a lot, and in some ways more unfavorably than others. Well, I do think part of it is the fact that the modern ports of these games, like PC and on Xbox and stuff, aren't that good. It's definitely better to play them on a GameCube or even a Dreamcast if you have one. But yeah, these are games I really like, but they're a lot harder to recommend. And also, if you're looking for a really good Sonic game, play Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transform, because this is one of the greatest games ever made. If you're looking for a fun 2D game that's kind of like this, but a little bit more involved, check out Rush. Really good time. So yeah, those are my favorite Sonic games. I love this character. He's just again, I can't think of a single character that means more to me than this guy, so I'm really excited to be able to talk to you about my favorite games he's had on this special day. And hopefully I'll get the video edited by then so I can actually upload it on the day. And I'm gonna go do that now while I'm drinking a lot of water because my voice is tired, and I will see you all later. Have a great day or something. I don't know how to end videos.